All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our career webinar booster series. We are so excited to be here with you this early morning, and we are so excited to have our amazing panelists from Jpmorgan. Today, the panel again is mostly African, so this is very interesting perspectives that we're going to get today. And I just want everyone to start by giving a really good introduction about yourself, about your life, where you went to school, and really how'd you end up at JP Morgan? So, Catherine, would you like to go first?
Yeah, I can start. So, hi everyone. My name is Catherine. I went to Cornell University, and after my junior year, I got an internship at JP Morgan. And I actually found out about it through a recruiter. Her name was Devin. She's amazing. And she told me to apply through the Launching Leaders program, which is your diversity program. So, if you get the internship through that, you get a scholarship as well as an internship offer. So that was really amazing. And when I interned, I actually interned with Diane on the same team. And it was a very hard but also very fun summer. And luckily I was able to get the full-time offer. So I'm back there.
So, Georgina, do you want to go next?
Hi everyone, my name is Georgina and I am in campus recruiting for the technology program, so our software engineering program. I'm a graduate of the University of Delaware. I have a undergrad in political science and a master's in entrepreneurship and design. So my path to JP Morgan was really interesting. Before I joined the financial services industry, I was in government. So I worked with the government, worked with the senators, things like that. And then I actually accompanied a friend to a career fair, and I literally walked by the JP Morgan table. I didn't think that I had the necessary skills to offer a bank. So the lady stopped me and she's like, "Hey, you didn't ask us, what we do or how could we help you?" So I told her that, my passion was in banking and I don't necessarily think I have the skill set for banking. And then she told me about their Day in the Bank program, which they were recruiting for in the private bank. So I went to the program, I got hired, I spent a year in the private bank, and then I moved over to the HR and recruiting side.
Thank you. Billy?
Hey guys, so my name, like Dan said, I'm Billy Kasium. So I was born and raised in Cameroon. I moved to the US 2010. I went to UPenn undergrad, studied finance, international studies, and French. And so my path towards JP Morgan actually started relatively early. I didn't know it would lead to it, but freshman year I was able to get an internship um, in their prime brokerage division. And so, those internships kind of led to return offers, and innately kind of led to a full-time offer after my junior summer, which I was in invest services sales. I'm happy to go into more detail as we go along conversation. But yeah, so I started full-time in July, and been great thus far. So
Perfect. Keaton?
Cool. Hi everyone. Katan. Born in Chicago, but I've lived in Lagos since I was 10. I went to Cornell as well. Um, how I got to JP Morgan, I sort of knew I wanted to pursue a career in finance, and I sort of tried to divert divisions out. Like I actually worked in the institutional equity division at Morgan Stanley and the global capital markets division at Morgan Stanley, and got a taste of those things, and then switched over to JP Morgan my junior summer, and now I work in as an investment banking analyst in the leverage finance group.
So the first question I want to ask is for Georgina, being that you are in recruiting. Can you give us an overview or a high level um, comprehensive list even of what you guys look for, because you walked past the JP Morgan stand, you didn't think you were what JP Morgan is looking for. So what does JP Morgan look for?
I think with JP Morgan, you really just have to do your research because we are a very big organization. So you can do anything from banking to a little bit of healthcare. There's a lot of different things you can do at the bank. So let's say you have to know what you're interested in. So if you're interested in banking, you have to know what that division's looking for. If you're looking to trade, you need to know what the trade is looking for. If you're interested in HR, you need to know what HR is looking for. If you're interested in tech, you need to know what tech is looking for. Because I specifically work for tech, I'll focus on that. So we are specifically looking for students who we're looking for diversity in terms of mindset, right? So let's say you are a political science major, but you're interested in coding, we have opportunities for you. Likewise, if you're interested in being a software engineer, we have those opportunities as well. It's really about networking and knowing what you want to do and what skills you have that benefit the bank. Because a lot of us, let's say, a lot of us who have civil justice majors, or we're criminal justice, political science, we don't really realize that we have a lot of the thinking skills that people who work in the financial sector are looking for, because we offer that diversity and we offer that ability to think and problem solve. So you just really have to know like what it is you want to do, and then I would say network with the people in those types of positions to learn what skills they have that are transferable to the kinds of jobs that you want to do.
Thank you for that. And I think that's really important because many times people don't recognize that. Me too, I was a liberal arts major. I was sociology and I was women, gender, sexuality, double studies. Um, but all of my internships were in finance, so it is possible. But this leads into the next question about networking. So, Billy, I want you to talk to me a little bit about how you got into JP Morgan so early and what you specifically did to um, make yourself and have a value proposition right after about freshman year to get into a company like JP Morgan.
Yeah, no, that's actually a great question. I always like kind of ask myself how I ended up here because it's I don't know, as a freshman having an internship, I was like scared a bit, but the way it kind of happened is so Penn always holds kind of JP Morgan for their recruiting, season. And like every freshman undergrad in Warren, I was like, oh, I want to do banking and markets, and I don't know what the hell that means, right? So I went there, but I was able to speak to the recruiter, and we actually ended up having a conversation about something completely unrelated to work. And so I got to know her from a more personal level. And I think that's, I have like 3 points on networking. Number one is like you don't always just have to talk about work. So that kind of, made us connect on a more personal level. And she was able to remember me. And I think that, played favorably. But then I met someone who currently works in the division. He's actually on my floor that I work in, and he talked to me about his role. So I, tried to figure out ways that I related, just based off of what I did my freshman fall, which wasn't much, but you can find a way. And that's my second point. You can always find a way to lead into stuff that other people are doing in terms of connections. And then, yeah, I just applied. And one of my first things freshman year, I knew that, I wasn't the most competent because, I mean, I'd only done like a year of college and there wasn't much that I'd accomplished that would kind of lead me into finance. But my main objective was to network as much as possible and learn as much as possible about the bank and learn and meet people throughout other divisions. And that's kind of like my third point in terms of you never know where someone who you meet can you never know the returns that can bring. So it's always important to, take those connections seriously, especially when you're doing internships. Because it's like, as much as obviously you need to do your work well, and I don't doubt anyone won't, they're also expecting you to be out there because you're there for what, 8 to 10 weeks, and it's a limited time, but you should learn as much as possible because again, you really never know. Like the person who I'm close to now, I met my freshman year, and we talk about other things, and I don't know where that can lead, right? So, yeah, I think networking is really important. I feel, and you have to just know a way to go about it. Now, obviously, it's full time now. It's a little, more. I feel like then you need to have a little bit more pizzazz and I don't know, like a little bit more pizzazz and like objectives towards that networking because I don't want to just meet anyone at this point because I'm trying to build my career, but I still find a way to grab coffee with people I find are interesting and kind of yield into what I want to do later on. So,
Got you. So, Kisan, investment banking, especially at a large investment bank, is probably one of the most sought after and incredibly competitive roles to get into. So, you were saying that you were at Morgan Stanley and then you went to JP Morgan. Can you tell us a little bit about that process and how you were able to make yourself stand out enough to get that internship with Jpmorgan, and then through that rigorous summer, or actually, we'll talk about the summer a little bit later. Just tell us how you got in.
Yeah, sure. Well, I think a big thing that I like took away going through all these processes, these competitive recruitment processes, is that something that sets you apart is knowing what you want and why you want it. And that like genuine interest and genuine passion for something always stands out for people because at the end of the day, no one is coming through with a skill set that's actually valuable. And that you're gonna learn the job on the job. Like like your GPA doesn't really matter once you get on the desk or once you get on your team. Like none like a lot of what you think matters is gonna prepare you doesn't necessarily. So do your research. Like you'll be shocked by how many people kind of go in with not the most clear idea of what investment banking is, or what the specific role is, of like, or what they would want to do within investment banking. But like, if you intern at a hospital, have an interest in healthcare, talk to people in the healthcare group, read up on what investment banking is, and like really just show. I mean, show because these people they're screening for potential and passion, not for intelligence, to be honest. And so if you
Mm,
can show those things, I think that that's just a really important and good way to set yourself apart.
amazing. So I love that potential and passion. Catherine, I would love you to discuss your potential and your passion once you learned about the wealth management role and how you use those two things to be able to get an internship.
Yeah, definitely. So it's very similar to what Billy said. Like my school, Cornell, everyone is like, oh, I just want to go into finance. I want to be in banking. So once you get there, you kind of in a way start to like emulate that. You start to also, think about those kind of roles. So I did my research in banking, all the different roles. And to me, what attracted me was private banking because it was in a way, it wasn't just hardcore finance, hardcore economics. It was also more sales related because you have to basically sell yourself to your clients. We're dealing with not just institutions, but we're dealing with people and we're dealing with people's money. So that really attracted me to private banking because I wanted to work with people. I didn't just want to sit in front of a spreadsheet all day and just crunch numbers for institutions. I wanted to see the impact of what I was doing and be able to communicate with people. So once I realized that I really wanted to go into private banking, I reached out to different people, alumni from my school who were at Jpmorgan and in private banking. I spoke with them a lot. I also reached out to different recruiters because I know that they basically are your starting point into getting the internship. When you figure out this is what you want to do, your first round of interviews will be with the recruiters. So I knew that I had to build a good relationship with them. So that's what I did. And once I got that internship, I was really lucky that private bank had a good support network for Black people. So I was able to get a mentor through that. I was able to ask them any questions that I was uncomfortable asking people on my team and just build that network and learn best practices from them. So that was how I was able to basically combine my passion with excelling at Jpmorgan, honestly.
And so I will put this up to anyone. What are the other networking groups or professional development activities did you participate in that helped you before you got to the internship? And so I know Catherine and I were both in SEO, but if any of you all were in SEO or MLT or Inroads, please discuss that and the importance and power that it had over your starting off really well in your internship.
So I can go first because I absolutely love SEO. SEO is so amazing. Like you don't understand the power of SEO until you are in your internship or until you are in your full-time position. So I
Oh.
remember we had the 2 week training before our internship and it was super intense and I will not even lie, I felt like dropping out of SEO because I remember we had the training, we had to get there at 7 a.m. and we were leaving at like 7 or 8. And I thought that was so rigorous until I started the internship and I was there at 7 a.m. and leaving at like 10 p.m., leaving at 11 p.m. And also, besides the hours, the internship, they really prepare you for the different personalities that you're going to deal with when you get on the job. I remember they were talking to us about like microaggressions and how it is as a Black professional in corporate America. And half of the time I really thought that they were just making things up or they were just being unnecessarily dramatic. But once you get into the role and you see how the different personalities play out, the different power dynamics, you really start to tap into what you learned during the SEO trainings, and you're able to use that to help you excel no matter like what challenges you face on the work. And also you have a coach in SEO, so you're able to talk to them at least once a week or as many times as you want so that they can help you navigate through your internship process. So I really, really like love SEO and what they do.
Yeah, I did SEO as well. I mean, I can't like I just at every step, like a distant like at every step, SEO has just been such a influential program for me. It's one of those things where it's like the number of minorities on Wall Street they've touched just like clearly speaks to like how powerful the program is. Um, I think one thing, I think the biggest thing is that it kind of gives you the rude awakening. And a lot of times, the first 2 weeks of the internship are like, whoa, like what's going on here? And it's like you're gonna experience that shock. You're gonna make a mistake and think it's the end of the world.
Yeah.
You're not gonna get the job because of it. You're gonna be stressed. You're gonna be like, there's so many things you're gonna go through, and it's almost like SEO like pre runs you through that cycle. So when you get to it, it's like you have a bit more composure just because you've kind of just been through it. You've kind of already oriented your mind to all the things you're going to be doing. So I think the biggest thing it does is one act. So it provides access, and that like you like they partner with all these firms, and so you have great networking opportunities with these firms, and then preparation. Like you're just better prepared than you would otherwise be.
Anyone else? Billy, were you in any? Billy, can you hear me?
Oh, so I just like buzz a little bit. No, I would echo what everyone said. I didn't personally do the only kind of I guess networks I did was I did it with the Jumpstart, and I did that all of my summers. First time I did Jumpstart, I just completed my internship, but a lot of the skills that I learned from Jumpstart, even freshman year, kind of progress, right? Because it's, you're with networks and professionals who are in different fields, so you're kind of able to apply what you learn in a different angle, and that's what I love most about it. And again, you're building relationships with your peers, right? So a lot
Mhm.
of people that I know from Jumpstart to this day, I reconnect with, and I see that they're doing amazing things, right? So and I feel that it's important, right? And I know that a lot of those things too, like when you're like, for example, in the Jumpstart, there are a lot of opportunities where companies, would reach out to specific Jumpstart quote unquote alumni to provide those internships, right? So getting into them is also an opportunity to get the jobs that you're looking for specifically. And another one, I mean, like I wasn't in it, but a lot of my friends are in MLT, and that's another, great way to network and build relationships. And I know that they do a lot of like specific like conferences and other things. So it just in general, it's good to be aware of what your peers are doing and to learn about other things. And it doesn't look bad for your resume as you're, again, proceeding and trying to find internships and build a career young when you're starting young.
Absolutely. And so I would love Georgina to give us a little overview of what she has seen or what recruiting has deemed as the successful traits of interns to get that full-time offer. Because for those who don't know, Jpmorgan is very rigorous. If you pass the internship interview process and you get an internship, that is really the start, not the
Mm.
end.
Hmm.
And so I would love for her to give us a little breakdown on that.
Yeah, so as Diana was saying, most of our programs have at least a three-step interview process. So from the time you apply to taking either a code view or hire view, kind of like a video call interview, then you'll have a recruiter screening before you even like come on campus for a physical interview. So we have a lot of steps to the interview process, and that's not really to deter people, but just to really let me say vet people, because as we want you to succeed, we are also taking a risk on you. And so we need you to really be a good brand ambassador for our firm. Um, we really look for people who, I think someone said it on the line earlier, are passionate and persistent, and they know what they want to do, because it's easy to get lost in the firm, and if you don't, like, if you're not enjoying your career, that affects our attrition rate. So we really want to make sure that when we are recruiting you into the programs, that you're going to be successful, and that you know that we are here to help you. I think a lot of interns don't know that when you are interning, we're looking to hire you. So we want you to do your best, because it makes our job easier if we are just going to convert you from the internship to full time. So when you are in an internship, it's really important that you give it your all and to act like, this is your full time job, because we are essentially are looking to make you a full time offer. So for all those aspiring interns, I would say once you pass the interview process, it's really, like Diana said, only the beginning, because it's from interview or for interview to internship to full time opportunity. And then from full time opportunity is mobility, because we're really passionate about mobility, and we're really looking for people who are going to come in the firm and grow and become VPs, EDs, MDs, join the executive committee, operating committee, things like that. Essentially, you just have to be a hard worker. Like someone said on the line before, it's not really about your grades. Like, my program, we are GPA strongly preferred and not GPA required anymore. However, it's more so to check to see how you're doing in school, because we all know that GPA is an indicator of hard work. So maybe somebody who has a 2.5, it's not necessarily that they don't know what they're doing. It could be a question of work ethic. So when you see companies having a GPA requirement, it's not necessarily to deter you or to say, we only want the best of the best, but we want hard workers. So it's important that through your GPA, through your resume, through all these things, that you show that you're working hard. Because likewise, the person who has a 4.0 GPA but is not involved in any activity, that makes me question, can you handle both? Because at work, we all know we get tapped to do special projects. So, like those of you who may sit on the desk, you may be asked to go to some event, or, help out with this project or help out with this initiative. So it's really important that you're able to not only focus on your core tasks, but also multitask and support other areas of the firm as well.
Absolutely, totally agree with that. And Catherine, I would love for you to give us a breakdown of what your mentor, specifically from the Black JP Morgan group, told you to do and prepare for. Catherine and I actually had a mentor in common in Omari, and he was very brutally honest, but
Yes.
his brutal honesty was very helpful. So I would love for you to give us some of that insight that they gave you when you started.
Okay, so I had a couple of Black mentors at JP Morgan. The first one was Nadia, and she is amazing. Like, she's a boss. She is killing it at JP Morgan. And I remember when I first sat down with her, she told me that she was going to give me a list of people that I need to network with, because in at JP Morgan, and especially in the private bank, it's not only about what you know, it's about who you know, and it's about your ability to build relationship, because we are a relationship and client oriented industry. So first of all, she gave me a list of people that I need to meet, I need to have coffee chat with. So that's what I did. That was the first step. And then the second step was to constantly ask for feedback, but be direct in what you're asking. You can't just, ask, how did I do? Or do you have any feedback for me? You have to be specific, and stating like, oh, I did this assignment for you. I think this is, I did well in XYZ way. And I think this is also how I could have improved. What do you think? Do you agree with this or not? So that was really valuable, because I remember in our team when we sat down with our analyst managers, they didn't really have much to say in terms of feedback. So being able to be direct with them and what you wanted to hear from them and how you can improve was very, very valuable. So I think those were the two things that she taught me, because if you don't know how you're doing or how you're performing, you will either continue to do what you're doing and you can either be successful or not, or you can just be discouraged and not do anything at all because you're not getting kind of any feedback or benchmark as to how you're doing in relation to how your peers are doing. And also with Omari, I really like that I was able to meet him and he was able to coach me because he was very honest. he will like tell you, you need to do this because I interned here, I've been here for this amount of years, and if you were able to do XYZ in the job, you would be able to excel. So he was able to teach us basically like the day-to-day tasks. And I think being able to have mentors like that, a junior person who will help you with like the day-to-day activities, is very valuable, as well as a senior person who can help you to navigate the politics of the firm.
Super important, super important. And
Hmm.
Katan, I want you to speak on investment banking internships because everyone has heard horror stories. Well, hopefully they have heard some because it's very rigorous and very competitive. You guys, I feel like they expect you to hit the ground running like second week. Like you guys have no real time. So can you discuss with us like when you got there, how you navigated that space to realize what you needed to do to be excellent and even above excellent? Because you are going to be continuously in comparison with your peers. So how did you stand out amongst your peers?
Yeah. I mean, so you're right. No, it's definitely like a because it's a sprint, right? Like you have they're in within 8 weeks they're making a determination. It's like, are we gonna hire this person or not? So like you have to just understand that every interaction is evaluatory, every assignment is evaluatory. Like you're being evaluated, and that is intense. And like you don't want to be anxious, but you also want to completely understand and be like pragmatic and be like, okay, this is a challenge. This is what it is. In terms of how to navigate the space, I think it's sort of two pronged in that everyone's going to start at a different level in terms of getting the work done. But something that you can show is work ethic and a good attitude. Like those actually go like really, really far. Like, you're going to try your best at the work you do. But if people just get the feeling that you have a very good attitude, you never like you I never at no point whether someone was unfair with you or strict with you or not, like you never showed like any pushback and you consistently had a good you carried yourself very well. Like that goes a long way with people liking you, because at the end of the day, when you think about when these hiring decisions are made, it's the entire team coming together, sitting around a table, and being like, "Do we like should we hire this person or not?" And your technical ability in the work you do is definitely going to come up. Like you definitely want to work hard, make sure you're not making the same mistake twice, and all those things. But I think something that I think something that minorities, especially, like are not in tune to is the social aspect of it. In that, like people have a harder time saying mean things about you if they like you. Like it's true. It's kind of the social aspect of selecting people for these jobs is kind of has what has kept minorities out of these spaces for a very long time. And
Hmm.
so you just have to be in tune to the fact, like, look, go out and grab coffee with people, like go out and like really speak to people and things like that. Just because like you want to show that you're a cultural fit, like that's over 50% of it as well. And then the work, I mean, in terms of just like the work, you kind of have to put your head down. Like if it is what you want, I will say like it's not for the faint of heart, right? If it's not what you want to do, you're not going to be able to do it because it's taking so much of your time. But if it is what you want to do, like remind yourself of what your broader goals are, why you want to do it, and then, like you have to just show up and work hard.
Thank you. So, Billy, I want you, since you had three internships throughout
Hmm.
college, to discuss some of the things that people usually don't take advantage of during their internships. What are they, and why should people take advantage of them?
That's a good question. I guess I'll put it in three parts. Number one, I think it goes back to the issue really of networking. And I'm sorry, like it sounds cliche and I keep coming back to it, but it's just really essential because I remember a lot of my peers, whether they were in bank, markets and asset management or in the same division as me, they kind of looked at the end of the summer and they were like, "Oh, I'm afraid to network because, if I'm off my desk, they're gonna think that I'm not doing my work and X, Y, and Z." And or, I'm afraid to reach out to someone because they're senior and like I'm a summer intern. So like, what are they gonna think? Why am I reaching out? But I don't know whether it's, I guess, like by the grace of God or like my family raising me, but I never really had that intimidating. I don't know. Like I've never felt intimidated approaching people just because, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong. I never felt like the culture of networking at JP was very like limiting in that sense, and I felt like they really emphasized it. So, whether a person was an MD, which is a managing director or an executive director or like another analyst who was interesting. I wanted to grab coffee with them. Of course, like if I had assignments, I would try to prioritize them and get them done. But when it came to networking, that was really another thing, right? Like my summer was probably 60% networking and 40% like work dedicated towards like my team, right? And if I'm being honest, because like the work that they're giving you, you can't do that much in 8 weeks, right? So they know that you're able to accomplish it. I think the second thing is truly kind of asking for ways to take your work to the next level in terms of, where you're going with your career, because there's so many resources and there's so many cool things that the firm is connected to. Like one of my big passions is economic development in sub-Saharan Africa. And I told that to one of the people that I was meeting, and he was like, yeah, of course, let me connect you with, this vice chairman of the bank, and he deals with a lot of like, multinationals and institutions. And we started talking about African economic development. And so that's only because, again, like I sought out to be like, hey, I'm interested in doing this. I'm not afraid of sharing my interests. Because again, like I said before, like you shouldn't just be talking about work. These people do work like, every single day, and they want to talk about things that are interesting. So yeah, like not being afraid to reach out and say, this is what I want to do. How can the firm fit? Because especially with a lot of industries, right? They're huge. They're connected in so many different things. And I think the last thing is I guess the last thing is really not also like trying to take initiative as an intern, right? Sure, projects and a lot of, and I know it can be hard, right? Because it's your internship and you're like, oh, I don't want to come over as like overbearing and whatnot. But even when you are an intern, right, like you should see it as, all right, this is 8 weeks. Of course, I have a learning curve that's going to be steep because I don't know anything coming in. But if I can show that I can take initiative on certain things and on certain notions, like for example, if my manager tells me to do X, Y, and Z, and I'm like, let me do X, Y, and Z, but take it to the next level, or kind of, utilize resources to try to show that I've already learned stuff, by like the third or fourth week, then that's only going to be beneficial when you're going about your reviews. Because one of the reasons is that they're attracting young talent is that we're able to think about things differently, right? They've been doing things like the same way and so many different for so long, right? And you bring in that fresh perspective and that fresh mind, and you should really, leverage that when you're trying to structure different things. Like I remember a project that I was working on, and I was like, hey, this is one way to think about it because, you know, this is a way we can talk to the client, and like that was beneficial. So don't be afraid to speak. Like that last thing is then don't be afraid to speak up and speaking up in terms of being productive and if you have an idea, don't say, hey, I'm an intern, they're going to think I'm dumb. No, speak up, make your idea heard because you never know where that can take you, right?
And I
That's
want to
amazing.
chime in on that really quickly in regards to what you were saying about networking is that we also don't leverage
Mm,
our peers enough. So
Mm.
Mm,
sometimes when we're
true.
interning, I don't know, some people think, it's a competition. If they get it, I won't get it. And that's not necessarily the case at JP Morgan. And so being able to talk with your
Mm,
fellow interns and see what they're doing on their team can help be very beneficial because you can bring that to your team and they will think that is something revolutionary or something new, but that is something that other teams have just been doing for a long time that your team doesn't necessarily know about. So being able to leverage one another is also very important.
Yeah.
And
and
I
that,
just want to
sorry, just to
expand
that
on.
point to that,
No, you go ahead.
go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
No, I was just saying that up to that point. That feeds in, to later roles because, for example, now I'm an analyst, but I'm working with a lot of people who are interns with me. So, you know, bonding that relationship kind of helps you later on because again there are things that when you're full time, right, there are projects which involve other teams and other segments, and that
Yeah,
relationship that we built as an intern, was only beneficial as I'm like, oh yeah, do you know someone on this team? I'm like, yeah, of course, we intern together and I spoke with him
yeah,
every single day, right? Instead of
hmm
no, I don't, and like I never talked to this guy, right? So and that's so important throughout the firm because like the more you know people, the more it can only help you because projects, as much as like the firm can feel big and small depending on what group they are, the firm is so well connected and you need to leverage. You're never just going to work on your specific team forever,
never.
right? So leveraging
Yeah.
other peers, right? Exactly.
Yeah, I was going to say it's really important to remember that we are really into collaboration, whether you're in investment banking, whether you're in tech. Like the firm is always looking for opportunities to connect with other teams and to interact. So you have to be willing to go outside of your box a little bit. And sometimes you just have to take initiative. You know, some things that you don't necessarily know if this is the right way to do it or this is protocol or whatever it is. Of course, you're not like supposed to break the rules, but if you think something's innovative and you think it could really change the scope and change the quality of the work, you know, as long as you can justify it and as long as it's client focused, most of the times most managers will reward you for your ambitiousness. And I was also going to say it's important to bring your whole self to work, you know. So if you are the person on the team who is, let's say, the life of the team, who everyone likes to be with, or even if you're the person who's more reserved but has like the practical answers, it's important that you speak up and you make your personality known, because people want to work with people they like. And that whole thing of like, are they a good fit or is it like team culture? You know, sometimes you don't necessarily want to hang out with your team members. You don't necessarily want to take a walk with them or whatever it is. But sometimes it's also good just to say yes, to build relationships, to build connections, you know? Like for me, it's kind of frustrating when I'm like in the middle of something and my team's like, hey, let's go for a walk. But I have to think like, you know, the walk has benefits too. It's not always getting your time done. And, you know, sometimes I think somebody mentioned about like work politics. You got to play the game to win the game. And I think a lot of minorities, we don't know that. So it's like we're different and it's that they versus me mentality. And you really have to get rid of that and see everybody as just a human being, you know, because at the end of the day, your manager has problems, your coworker has problems, you have issues. So you can't come into the workplace with that like us versus them mentality. It's like, how can we put our differences aside and just to really enjoy these 8 hours we have together? So
Mhm. Absolutely, that's so important. And Georgina, and just to add on to that, I actually, I'll let Catherine add on to that. The point of the importance of peer-to-peer networking, because during our summer together, I think that's one thing that our group of friends did extremely well. And so I'll
hmm
let her speak on that. But before Catherine goes, Gina, I would want you to talk about your favorite part of JP Morgan culture. What do you think really makes JP Morgan stand out from Goldman Sachs and Bank of America and Morgan Stanley? And why should people want to come to JP Morgan because
um my favorite part of, I guess, our firm culture is, and it's gonna sound really arrogant, but I think we're the best and we know it. So we do we're yeah, that's really just what it is. Like, you know, it's like I take pride in saying like, you know, I work for JP Morgan, not in like a bad way, you know, because the Bible admonishes us to be prideful, but it's like, you know, look at us. Most of us are African immigrants, and we work at the best investment bank that, you know, the world has to offer. And it's really just amazing. So I think that's like one of the ways that I'm really excited about the firm. Um, it's a great opportunity to have on your resume. You know, JP Morgan is well respected, well known. We take pride in the quality of work that we give to our clients. So even if you look at products like our Chase Sapphire, Chase Freedom, all these things, like people look and they know, like, oh, you work for Chase, that's what's up. Even if they don't know the JP Morgan side necessarily, they respect the brand and they respect the value. But I also think it's really exciting that we have an operating committee that is excited about us, you know, like when I hear messages from Jamie Dimon, I know that, you know, he's out there grinding, he's out there working because of the work that we do. So it makes it that much more important for me to recruit the best tech talent, you know, so we can keep this firm going. And it's just an easy place to work, you know, and I'm not saying easy in the quality of work or in the, like, you know, the work assignments that you're given, but more so easy in the nature. In my office, everyone walks in, good morning, good morning, good morning. You know, I say good morning from the time I walk in the door up until I sit in my seat. We recruit people, you know, and we bring our whole selves to work. So um, obviously you shouldn't go to work and like share all your personal problems, but like if somebody has an issue that is like work related or it can benefit the team, they're always welcome to share. And we know that, you know, you have people that are invested in you. We also have what we call business resource groups, like BRGs, that are invested in your success, whether you be a woman, whether you be a millennial, whether you be Black, whether you be Hispanic, LGBT identifying. There's lots of different opportunities and lots of different ways for you to get involved and just really bring your whole self to work, even at the intern level. So there's lots of opportunities to just to show your personality and not get caught up in the, oh, I work at Jpmorgan, but like what can you bring to the culture at Jpmorgan as well?
Absolutely. And I think one of the biggest parts of JP Morgan that she said was like there's a lot of support. And I was a little surprised when I got there to even see Jamie Dimon consistently talking about diversity, and not being wishy-washy and around the way about it. He was like, we need more Black people. Black people are going to increase the efficiency of this firm. And how are we going to do it? And like, to hear a CEO of a bank like JP Morgan say things like that and write letters about increasing the Black population at JP, it was very surprising and also comforting. So I would like Catherine to discuss the benefits and the importance of those resource groups to minority people, whether they be women, Black, whatever. Um, and then also discuss again that peer-to-peer mentoring and help that you experienced during your internship. And also, what
Yeah.
was the impact? Because we did a lot of cool stuff, but like, what did it
Yeah.
do?
So starting with the BRG, the business groups. If I didn't have the Black Leadership Forum, I honestly don't think that I would have returned full time to JP Morgan. They really made my summer. Having, like, first of all, seeing Black people in senior positions kind of motivate you, makes you see that, wow, I can also get there one day if I work hard enough. And also, BLF, Black Leadership Forum, really took the time to, they invested time in you because they wanted to see you grow. They wanted to see you excel. They wanted to see you be a star in JP Morgan. And they did that by, first of all, formal mentorship programs as well as informal. So I remember we went to like a country club with one of the MDs. We had like occasional like lunch. They took us out to lunches. So that was really, really cool. And being able to see that there are actually a lot of Black people at JP Morgan, because you might be the only Black person in your team, but being able to see that there are actually a lot of Black people and they're on different teams, and if I ever need help I can connect with them and they can help me excel, was really, really comforting. And on the case of the peer-to-peer mentorship, that I think was really phenomenal, and I'm really happy that you and I started that, because we kind of started that when we were interning. And that was really great because sometimes the work gets really hard
Hmm.
and it could be very disheartening, it could be discouraging, but being able to sit down with your fellow interns and go through like the struggle together, it just being able to vent makes you feel better. And number two, being able to listen to other people's experiences, see how like they're overcoming challenges, helps you to also think of your problems in a different way and not see them as challenges but as opportunities to grow. So that was also very, very phenomenal, and that really made the summer a worthwhile experience. And lastly, I think I mentioned this before, but when you sit down with other peers, you see what they're doing on their teams, and you see how you can leverage that and use that in your respective team to help you, stand out and help you just revolutionize the process of what you're doing day to day. And that was really, really effective also. And I remember there were a lot of things that I took away when I sat down with other interns to my teams that was able to help me work efficiently and help me to leave like at 1 hour earlier, which, is very like, it's very rewarding when you're working like 12, 13, 14 hour days. To leave just an hour earlier makes a huge difference.
Absolutely. And Catherine and I, we basically like ran these like makeshift office hours with like the Black people in asset management. So at a certain time at like 6, we all would leave, go
Hmm.
downstairs, some get coffee and just talk and like, okay, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? How do you think we can be helpful? This is how I'm struggling. Honestly, the things you would not tell even maybe your mentor, we were
Yeah.
talking about. And then Catherine and I also really worked hard to make sure that senior leadership was talking to the Black interns. So we had like the head of the private bank, who was a woman, come in and speak to like all the Black interns. And these are things that you can make happen. We literally just emailed her after we saw her at a morning call.
Yeah.
And so we were like sitting there, we were like, oh, we wanted her to talk to us. So we were like, let's go up and talk to her. We went up to talk to her. She was like, oh my gosh, so nice to meet you guys.
Yeah.
And then we were like, can we have your email? And then she gave it to us. And we scheduled this really like important and influential meeting for all the Black interns, and really interns of color in private banking that summer. So there's
And
so many.
that makes a huge difference, because sometimes the senior people don't really know what we're doing or what we're going through. So being able to really express to them the challenges that we're
Yeah.
facing helps them to understand and help them to do something about it. So I know that the past interns, especially the Black interns, had a much different experience than we did, because we were able to tell the senior people about some of the challenges we were having that they were able to address. So I know, like, things like that can be hard at first, but being able to step out of your comfort zone and meet with these senior people makes a difference going down the line.
Absolutely. And Katan, so I know that investment banking is really important for you to put your head down, right? That's like a big thing in the internship and just in the role. But how are you able to still navigate networking? And then also, how are you able to navigate a team that you were mostly with, I would say maybe 80 to 90% of your time, that maybe didn't look like you? How were you able to get over that hurdle? Because I think a lot of people, as Georgina was saying, tend to not really get over the hurdle and also not understand the importance of getting over that hurdle, because irregardless of if you want your whole team to be Black, they're not Black right now, or they're not all women right now. So how are you going to be able to still
Yeah.
network and be personal?
Yeah. Well, I guess with the putting your head down, there's almost has to be like a dichotomy to you, in that you want everyone to know that you work hard and have a good attitude, but like you need to have like Africans have personality, right? Like, and you need to show it. Like that you need to be remembered in these meetings, and so it's like you almost want to like what I would do is when I was tasked on a project or a deal or whatever like that with someone, I'd go work really hard with them, be very, very focused. And whenever it sort of reached an inflection where it was either over or it slowed down or something, I'd be like, hey, can I go out for coffee? Right? And in that, one, you ask for feedback. In that, like, you're getting constructive feedback, which is helpful to you. Two, even if the feedback isn't helpful to you, it sends a message. It means I care, right? So you're sending a message, I care. And three, one-on-one, you get a chance to like show who you are, joke around a little bit. And so and so it's like it is difficult to almost have a formula and that like kind of work hard and then right when you've worked hard for someone, it's easy to make that bridge. It's easy to be like, hey, like can we talk about what I've just done for you? And then I think that's how you like really show people that you care and like show your personality. In terms of like not seeing people who look like you have like, and this is honestly not exclusive to JP Morgan or finance. Like this is just the nature of like a lot of industries right now. It's like you have to be comfortable being the first wave. In that like yeah, no one looks like us there. Like that needs to change in 15 years, and it's because of us, right? And you need to be comfortable being the first wave, and you need to, and it helps, like you said, like to have a CEO that like is looking for that first wave. Like JP Morgan is looking for more senior Black people. Like they're trying to increase Black retention. They're trying to get more Black people in. Like they know that they're not getting, like they don't have enough Black people now, and they don't get away with it. And it's only going to be tougher to get away with that 15 years from now. Like they're trying to keep you. So it's like if you know the value or how much of an asset you actually are to the firm, that actually helps you like sort of get comfortable with the fact that like not that many people look like you. But
And I
and in terms of just getting comfortable with people, it's EQ is important. EQ is important, but like as a minority, as an immigrant, like I think we're used to being a minority in spaces. We're used to not necessarily having people who look like us at the spaces. Like I mean, like high school is majority white, college is majority white, America's majority white. So I think you just have to remember that this is not entirely new to you. Like you've been in these spaces before, drawing your experiences and the skills you've developed, and like yeah.
I was gonna add on to that. I think it's important that you find yourself, like you go out and find yourself people who look like you, because obviously no one is going to sit here and hand you black coworkers. Like it's probably not going to happen. And honestly, the people around the table who are looking for people that look like them are not us, you know. So you have to go out of yourself. Like use the internet. Like I used to spend like time just sitting there like, okay, who did this person report to? Who did they report to? Who is like, you know, and just network that way. Like one of my, I want to call her my work bestie. I literally met her because we were on the call, and I noticed that she had an African last name. So I hit her up. I was like, "Yo, my girl, you know, hey." And it was a risk that I took, but you have to be willing to take that risk. And it's so crazy that, you know, she ended up moving to Delaware, took a role in our office here, and you know, so now that's like one more black person I have in my corner. But it's one of those things where you have to go looking. Like the firm is big enough, and if you look, you will find. Like there's enough of us at the firm that like you shouldn't feel so isolated that, oh, I'm the only black person, because you're not. You're not the only black person at JPMorgan. Look, there's like 5 of us right here on the line. But you really just need to create those opportunities for yourself. Like, you know, if you see a fellow person of color, it doesn't even have to be a black person, but even a woman, because in our field of tech, women are a minority. If you see a fellow woman, hey, how are you? Like, you know, really go out of your way to make people feel comfortable, because it's also your responsibility in a sense. Like you are Jpmorgan as well, and you can only attract what you give off. So if you want more black people, but as a black person you don't talk to other black people and you're, you know, siloed and whatnot, that's not cool. You have to be a part of the change, and you really have to do the work with, you know, with your managers, and you have to be willing to speak up, because if you don't speak up, people don't know what's wrong, and we assume that, oh, as a white person or a person acting in privilege, you should know that, you know, what was said was wrong, or what happened here wasn't necessarily how it should be. But if you let it slide, it's going to keep happening, and the next group of interns who come in, the next group of interns they come in, then the ones after that, they're the ones who are going to deal with the implications of what happened way back when you were an intern, you know. So that's corporate culture is not going to change. No, it's corporate culture, but it has to change. So.
Absolutely. And I had a very similar story in meeting Catherine. There was JP Morgan held like a Black leaders conference
Advancing
for
Black
all,
leaders,
yeah,
yeah.
advancing Black leaders for all the potential um, Black interns that were coming in the summer. And they gave a booklet out and they had everybody's name in it. I saw that Ghanaian last name. I said, I'm gonna find her. And I found her, and next thing you know, we realized we're like basically the same person, and now we're like best friends still. So
Yeah.
I think it's very important to take the initiative to work to find connection. But taking it off of your personal identity, I think it's really important to find, you know, sponsors and mentors who don't look like you. And so if anyone has experience in that, I would love for you to speak about the importance and also the benefits of having, a white male or white female or Asian or whatever, just mentoring you or sponsoring you throughout the process.
I would say
Hey,
like
Dan.
my current manager right now, is a white male, but I built that relationship to him where in our one-on-ones we don't only talk about like work, we talk about Jay-Z, we talk about Kendrick Lamar, we talk about whatever country band he's listening to or whatever's going on, because as he's like versed in my culture, I also have made it a point to know some things going on in their world. So I'm like, did you see what, you know, whatever just did? And he's like, child, listen. But like we have those opportunities and we have those conversations, or even when there's a new pair of Jordans released and he's like, yo, Gina, did you see this? And I'm like, Mike, let me tell you. But it's really one of those things where you have to build that relationship and you have to build that camaraderie. Like I said, you have to kind of get out of the box of you're white and I'm black and we can't coexist or work together. But it's you have to find the strengths of both. So like, okay, you're a white man who likes Jay-Z. I'm a black girl that doesn't necessarily listen to Jay-Z, but like, where can we find intersectionality? And that's where you find your sweet spot, building those connections and having people who advocate for you. But it's also about being honest. You know, you have to be honest in the workplace about what types of work you want to do, where you want to see yourself, and things like that. And you have to find people you trust, because I feel like a lot of times it's like, oh, hush, hush, like I want to move up, but I don't know who to talk to, when to talk to them, you know? Like, I'm not saying broadcast a career plans to everybody, but once you build that relationship and you build that trust outside of work, then you can bring work into it. Like, oh, by the way, I'm looking for this opportunity. Do you think you can help me? So.
Yeah, I just I want to echo that too. But sorry, I have to head out just soon. But before that, just wanted to give a point. I think that's really important because, especially for me, just with personal connection, like I feel like when I was at JP, like I knew that obviously, first of all, when I moved to the US, being black is like something that's a minority, but I never had that sense when I was in Cameroon, right? Because like everyone was black. So I never saw the world as black and white. I just saw it as people. So I feel like that's something that helped me personally, and I never had an issue connecting with people, right? But obviously, as I learn more and more about stuff, there's some things that, of course, like when I'm around Africans, when I'm around black people, it's just there's just you can't explain it, right? There's just an ease and a level of comfort that you have.
Mhm.
Um, but to me, it's just, especially when you're in a professional environment, like if anyone is helpful to you and you feel like they're going to be helpful, right? Like it doesn't matter for me, it doesn't matter where they come from. I'm going to leverage them, right? Like my current manager is a white male who's been working in finance for like 30 plus years, right? And he's very much of a champion for me. And like I really enjoyed him. That's one of the reasons I really enjoyed like working with him. And that's one of the reasons I came back to the team because of how he said, he wants to be kind of like a mentor in that role of a sponsor for me. And that's something that I felt beneficial. And it wasn't like, oh my gosh, I'm black, he's white, that might not work out. No, we talk about other stuff, right? Like he watches, like he's a Man United fan and I'm an Arsenal fan. So we talk about that type of stuff sometimes. And, you just got to also be comfortable getting out of your network, your comfort zone, right? Because like you're going to, like, again, we was brought up, most of the US is white, most of the US is not African, right? So you're going to have to bring about certain elements of your culture and other things that can connect in certain way, like especially if you're going to meet up clients. I can tell you that most of the clients are not black, right? Like
Mhm.
especially like dealing with those big firms. And you have to just be comfortable being like, hey, if I want something, I'm going to get it out of it. It doesn't matter if this person is white, black. Of course it's a plus, right? Because it can see something from a more personal perspective. But it's just important to have a champion regardless of where they are. Like, hey, if I can have someone who's not far from reporting to Jamie Dimon be my mentor or my champion, like why would I say no? I wouldn't be because they're not black. Like that doesn't make sense, right? That's kind of nonsensical to me. And that's kind of, how I felt in general about networking. And that's what same thing with peers. Like most of my friends and most of the people that are close to me at work are black, right? But like I have people that are also close to me that are not black that I can let work with and I can talk about other things because I find that they're useful and they've been instrumental in my growth and my development. Right. So yeah, those are kind of like my 2 cents in that sense. But unfortunately, yeah, I have to step out, but I'm happy to follow up if there are any other questions coming from, other people. And Dana, you have my contact information, but it was great speaking with you guys
Thank
and
you,
meeting you
Billy.
guys. Of course, I'll see you guys later.
See
Yeah,
you.
bye.
Bye, Billy.
The last thing that I want to ask everyone, because we're a little over, is your last words. What would you tell someone who was in your position in recruiting time, or maybe in your position as they are about to start an internship this summer with JP Morgan, or in your position as starting full time with JP Morgan? Please give them some advice and some tips to, make sure that they excel.
So the
So,
two things I would say is number one, you have to come in with a positive attitude every day. Because there are times that you're going to be, tired, or you're going to have like personal issues going on, or people in the workplace will be, annoying you, but you always need to have a smile on your face because first of all, JP Morgan and even all other firms just want people who can handle themselves appropriately under stressful situations. And they also want people who have a positive attitude and are always smiling and laughing and are able to connect with people no matter what is going on. So that would be the first thing I would tell them is you need to have a great attitude at all times. And the second thing is ask questions. As interns, as full-time analysts, when you start, like I did that too. Like I was so afraid to ask questions because I would be thinking that, oh, they'll think I'm stupid for not knowing this or I'm dumb for asking this type of questions. But until you ask the questions, you will be sitting there for hours trying to figure out something that could have taken you like 10 minutes to do. So being comfortable asking questions, and also sometimes it's actually the opposite. They won't think that you're dumb. They'll think that you are very curious, that you are very interested, and you just want to know how the process works. So ask lots of questions. And I've done that a lot more now that I'm a full-time analyst, because I sit next to somebody who started about 6 months before I did. So I'm like, I was able to bond with her. She's also Hispanic and she's a girl. So we have that natural friendship. So I'm able to ask her a lot of questions. And I've seen that doing that, as opposed to the other people that I started with who don't ask questions, I've been able to excel a lot quicker than they have been. So be bold and ask questions.
I would say don't be afraid to take risk. Um, so sometimes we get so bogged down in our head, like, oh, what are people gonna think of me if I do this, or what if I do this, and da 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 da, and X, Y, and Z. But we don't think about the other side of it. So what are people gonna think about you if you don't do that? You know. So just be open to taking risks. Be open to reaching out to senior managers, MDs, EDs, because I find a lot of times they're the ones who are willing to invest into, willing to pour into you. And then also, like I said before, bring your whole self to work. So if you are the one who likes to motivate the team, be funny, loud, whatever, if you're the one who encourages people, if you're the one who works hard behind the scenes, whatever the case is, bring your whole self to work, because it really makes work a little bit more interesting. Like, nobody wants to sit behind a desk for 8, 9, 10 hours a day with people they don't like, because it just adds a new layer of like burdenness to the work. But if you're like, oh, did you see this, or da 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 da, X, Y, and Z, as you're working, it helps you to build that, it helps you to keep going and to build a relationship with people around you. And I would say, from a recruiting perspective, don't be afraid to reach out and, like Catherine says, questions, because a lot of times people don't get opportunities because you go to a super day, you go to ABL, you go to launching leaders, you go to winning women and all these things, and then at your interview you don't really know what the program is about. So it's like, wait, why did we just waste all this time and all this money investing in you if you didn't ask any questions? And it's important to remember, like, you are there at a cost. So as an intern, we pay you, we sometimes give you housing, sometimes you get transportation, you get experience, all these things. Like, you are at a cost to the firm, so you really want to show your benefit and prove your value, because nobody likes to waste money. So even if you're not the best intern, if you can show that you're the most appreciative and the most deserving of an opportunity, we'll definitely look at you.
Yeah, I mean, I think what you guys said about attitude and curiosity are definitely super important. I think it's good to keep perspective and like congratulate yourself in that, like, here we are pursuing opportunities or given opportunities that like our parents couldn't weren't open to our parents, and so that's something to like appreciate and remember that, like, overall, like, this is, you're in a great situation. And then I think too, you want to ask for feedback. You want to consistently ask for feedback to the point of err on the side of annoyance, and that you don't want to be 5 weeks into the internship, find out that you've messed up, and it's like, oh, like, I've been doing this whole thing wrong. It's an easy fix, but no one told me to fix it, which is why I haven't. And now it's like you guys are a week away from making decisions about who should be hired. Like, so consistently ask for feedback. There should be nothing you're messing up that you don't know that you're messing up at some point. Like, that should be a big thing, and that can be an uncomfortable conversation. One, because people aren't always comfortable giving constructive feedback, and people aren't always comfortable asking. So I mean, the impetus is really on you to like really force the issue.
Absolutely. Feedback is so important. Um, and thank you all for your tidbits. Those are really, really good. Attitude, passion, intellectual curiosity. I think those things will take you so far, especially in a place like Jpmorgan or any top bank globally. So thank you to all of our amazing panelists for your time, your energy on this wonderful Saturday. They are so busy, and so I'm so grateful that you guys took the time to get this knowledge. And because they are so busy and they still made the time and effort, this should be um, like a signal to you guys that they care and they're trying to lift others as they climb. And so if you want their contact information, if you want to reach out to them, please do let us know. And that is all. So have a great rest of your day, guys. And thank you all for tuning in.
Well, I
Of
thank Diana.
course.
Bye.
Thanks for having
Bye.
us, Anna. Bye.